There is a serious problem within the Republican Party that cannot be overlooked. So while Matt Gaetz was fighting for his life to get confirmed as Attorney General, which we now know is done, given that he's withdrawn from consideration, Marjorie Taylor Greene decided to put her neck out on the line for this alleged child sex trafficker. She posted this tweet on Twitter, threatening to release all compromising information about her own party if they didn't back Gaetz' nomination. Quote, "For my Republican colleagues in the House and Senate, if we are going to release ethics reports and rip apart our own that Trump has appointed, then put it all out there for the American people to see. All the ethics reports and claims, including the one I filed. All your sexual harassment and assault claims that were secretly settled paying off victims with taxpayer money. The entire Jeffrey Epstein files, tapes, recordings, witness interviews, but not just those. There's more. Epstein isn't the only asset. If we're going to dance, let's all dance in the sunlight. I'll make sure we do." So there are two major issues here. The first is that Marjorie Taylor Greene was issuing these threats to her party so that they wouldn't stand in the way of the nomination of an accused child sex trafficker. Like, think about that for a second here. She was running cover, issuing threats to protect the guy accused of trafficking a minor in a political party that beats its chest as these defenders of the children, in a political party that calls the other side groomers, in a political party that was so committed to the bit of cosplaying as these anti-pedophiles in government that they tried to have the owner of a pizza place killed because someone decided that a trafficking ring was located in their non-existent basement. This came from QAnon. Marjorie Taylor Greene was literally a QAnon adherent, and yet now she is running cover for a guy accused of child sex trafficking? Are you kidding me? I know that it's almost a joke to say that Republicans don't believe in anything, but truly, these people are so completely devoid of principles or values that I cannot imagine a more morally pliable group of people on the planet. But the second issue is perhaps worse here, because while Marjorie Taylor Greene's efforts to save Matt Gaetz failed, maybe we talk about the notion that there are, and I quote, "other ethics reports and claims, sexual harassment and assault claims that were secretly settled paying off victims with taxpayer money, Jeffrey Epstein information." Are we just going to pretend that those don't exist now? She was so quick to air her party out when she wanted to gain leverage with it, but guess what? What she said still exists. It's still out there. It doesn't just go away because Matt Gaetz didn't become Attorney General. Neither she nor her party should be absolved simply because her threat failed to actually move the needle. She decided to air some dirty laundry as leverage. The leverage failed, but the dirty laundry doesn't go away. Now, I had asked Senator Amy Klobuchar about this exact issue, and here's what she had to say. Marjorie Taylor Greene had threatened her own party that she would release a raft of damaging information on them about taxpayer-funded payoffs and among other things if those people didn't get on board with Matt Gaetz. So obviously the Matt Gaetz thing fell by the wayside, and yet she's still left standing with these claims that all of a sudden there was, again, taxpayer-funded payoffs, and there was a lot of like sexual misconduct going on. So is that to say that it's some poorly kept secret in Washington that House and Senate Republicans have been engaging in this kind of behavior and that there's more to be uncovered?
I don't know. Let's just face it, a lot of what she says does not meet the truth test. That's a very nice Minnesota way of saying it. So I think the bigger issue here is that the Republicans have a small margin in the House. They have a margin big enough to confirm nominees in the Senate. We know that. They are going to have to make their own decisions about this. This isn't to say, Democrats are right now busy, despite some of our members losing. We're there night after night after night, confirming judges and doing our jobs. And now they're going to have a job to do. They're going to have to decide, are they just going to do everything Donald Trump wants and confirm the likes of Matt Gaetz, who eventually had to withdraw his name, despite some of them and many of them saying they supported him? Yeah. Are they going to be able to do the job for the American people? Remember, what this is really about, we can talk all this inside Washington, is about getting things done to improve people's lives. It means bringing down the costs of prescription drugs and doing something when it comes to housing and childcare. All these things that a number of them talked about in their campaigns. And the way I look at this, even the nicest analysis of this, is that they are being just distracted and pulled aside by this clown car of things that are happening. And Donald Trump likes to run things with disruption, right? It's kind of catnip for people. And That's what he does. And he did it with Matt Gaetz. He's probably going to do it. We know he's doing it in the future with some of these nominees. And my hope and our job is just to get things done. We're doing this right now while we still control the U.S. Senate. To the very last day, Senator Schumer and the rest of us are committed to getting things done. That includes a budget at the end of the year, getting some of these pieces of legislation, bipartisan legislation passed. We're just going to keep doing our jobs. Next year, same thing. And we're going to have to pick our fights because I think some of these people, as you saw from Matt Gaetz, we made our views clear. We weren't shy. We weren't hiding. Yeah. But in the end, they are going to have to decide whether or not they want to have people like Matt Gaetz even be nominated. Or are they going to spend their time running after that, spend day after day meeting with Matt Gaetz? Or are they going to actually do the job and work with us on very clear things that need to happen in this country when it comes to economics? That's what the voters want. I know. I just won an election. I know where they are, and they don't want to spend their time swirling around trying to figure out whether or not an ethics report will be released. Let's put some competent people in these jobs.
Now, Senator Klobuchar is a little more willing to cast off what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying than I am, which makes sense given her focus on legislating and my focus on the media. But I do think we agree on the broader point here that all of this is indicative of the chaos that surrounds the Trump administration and his acolytes like Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is less of the cause of these problems than she is the symptom of a broader rot in that party. The Republican Party more broadly, since the days of Newt Gingrich, has been engaged in exacerbating tensions, causing chaos, and waging fights because they felt it was politically advantageous. Marjorie Taylor Greene is just the latest iteration of that. But this is what you get with Republicans in charge. It is trash TV. It is unnecessary drama, which might be fun for some people who aren't affected by it, but let's remember that a lot of what happens in Washington is life or death for a lot of Americans out there. If Republicans have their way with Medicare or Social Security or Medicaid, that will impact real people. If Republicans have their way with food stamps or other safety net programs, that will impact real people. If Republicans have their way with Obamacare, which, by the way, yes, is the same thing as the ACA, the healthcare plan that gave healthcare access to 50 million more Americans, that will impact real people. If Republicans have their way with RFK Jr. at Health and Human Services and they validate his extreme anti-vax views, that will impact real people. If Republicans have their way with anti-environment Lee Zeldin at the EPA, that will impact real people. I know that Republicans want to see everything that doesn't help their wealthy donors burn, and the mainstream media is just enthralled with the ESPNification of politics, but behind all of that bullshit are the impacts on real people, people who rely on a functioning government to survive. And it's not a game to those people. And perhaps this is an unpopular opinion in Donald Trump's America, but government should not be there to help the rich get richer. It should be there to protect the most vulnerable. We should have a minimum standard of living in this country that the government can guarantee, not a government that exists to heap more tax dollars, more benefits onto the richest Americans. And yet that's the very government that we've just ushered in. So our job moving forward from the minority is to let Americans know what is happening as it happens. Because we already know that Trump's able to dupe his supporters with the whole fake populism shtick, but that, like his first term, he will never actually lift a finger to help them when it comes time to deliver. Before you go, just a quick note, if you'd like to see more of my content, which is always free of advertising, sponsorships, and paywalls, please make sure to subscribe to this channel using the subscribe button right here on the screen. And if you'd like to support my work even further, you can grab a copy of my instant #1 New York Times selling book, Shameless, available for sale right now. That link is also on the screen. Thanks so much for watching.